What's going on, everybody? It is Saturday, March 24th. I wanted to do a video and discuss a topic that's kind of a hot button issue right now, and give my 2 cents for what they're worth. Not because I feel like anybody should hear my opinion, but mainly because I think a lot of people are not realizing the ramifications of what they're asking for. There is a push right now to get a so-called 10-truck small fleet exemption from the ELD mandate. And basically what that would allow is any fleet of 10 trucks or less would not have to run ELDs. They would be exempt. Now, in the beginning here, I want to get one thing out of the way, and this is something I will not discuss, something I will not entertain conversation to the contrary. If you want to run a paper logbook, it's because you want to cheat. There's no other explanation. I'm not going to listen to foolishness. I've been doing this long enough, have ran paper logbooks, have run ELDs. The only reason that you would want to run a paper logbook is to cheat. It's not because of privacy issues. If you're carrying a phone in your truck, you're being tracked. If you're driving a fairly new truck, anything that's ELD compatible, it's got a black box in it. You're being tracked. You can have your movements tracked. There's cameras all up and down the highway taking pictures every time you go by. It's not got anything to do with privacy. Don't come at me with that argument as to why you want to run a paper logbook. It's not going to fly. The only reason to run a paper logbook in 2019 is to cheat. That being said, that's not the biggest reason to not run a paper logbook in 2019. The reason not to run a paper logbook in 2019 is because this is not 1990 anymore. This is not 1980 or 1970 or even 2000. Back in the day, you could run a paper logbook and cheat and cheat and cheat. And unless you pulled into the weigh station and didn't have your logbook up to date, you weren't going to get caught. There was no electronical way to track you to figure out if you were lying or not. That's not the case today. This is 2019. You have a cell phone in your truck, you're being tracked. You have any kind of an accident, any kind of a major accident, where maybe there's a fatality or an injury or any kind of a lawsuit, even if there's not an injury or a fatality, if that person, even if it's their fault, decides to sue you, guess what? They're going to get a lawyer, and that lawyer is going to obtain your phone records as part of that lawsuit. And your phone records ping on every cell tower, and it records the time. So they can verify that against your logbook. Now, going back based on the premise that the only reason you're going to run a paper logbook in 2019 is to cheat, you can have the best of intentions, okay? Best of intentions, I'm not going to cheat, I'm going to do everything by the book. Well, if that's the case, you just run an ELD. But anyway, let's say you got those best of intentions and you're not going to cheat and you're human. And there's going to come a load, or there's going to come a truck stop you need to get to. There's going to come some time where you're going to fudge that logbook just a little. Some of people that want to run paper logbook will fudge it a lot, and that's the whole purpose of wanting to run it. But let's say you're an honorable person and you just want to be able to, not have an ELD in your truck, but you're not going to cheat. It's going to come a day where you're going to cheat it by 15 minutes. You're going to show 15 minutes at a dock or something when you were there for an hour so that you can get to that truck stop that night, or you can make your delivery or your pickup. It's going to happen. We all know it. Nobody's dumb. That's why the government put this ELD mandate in place, because they knew it. Okay? Everybody knows running a paper logbook, it gets cheated up. So, that's going to happen. You're going to cheat it. All right? That's the whole purpose of running one in this day and time. And then, what happens when a car pulls out in front of you, comes through the median maybe, hits you head on, maybe comes down a ramp and just decides to drive under the side of your trailer? Anything. They're going to get a lawyer. Or their family, after they're dead, is going to get a lawyer and sue. Even if it's blatantly their fault, they're going to try to get money because we're driving an 80-foot cash cow. Everybody out here has seen the signs on the side of the interstate. Truck wreck, call me. You know, the lawyer standing with his foot on top of the trailer. Any type of an accident that a truck is involved in, there's going to be an ambulance chaser trying to get that person to sue, whether it's blatantly their fault or not. At that point, when the lawyer gets involved, they're going to subpoena your phone records. It's going to happen. And they can get them because there's precedent for that to happen, okay? That's legal precedent, all right? So once they get your phone records, they're going to comb through it with a fine-tooth comb. And they're going to find it. It's not going to be hard. When you're running a paper logbook, you got 15-minute increments. If you do something that's 10 minutes, you got to show it as 15. You do something that's 20 minutes, you're going to show it as 15. You're going to show it as 30. You're going to show 15. They got you. Okay? Because all they've got to do is establish that you were illegal at some point in the past. And that chain of events that would have carried out from there would have led to a few minutes of time where you would not have been where you were at when you had that accident. Just a few minutes of time, a month down the road, would have placed you a few miles back up the highway, and you would not have been there in that instant to have that crash. You're done. It's over. Okay? At that point, you have falsified your logs. They've got you. A lot of people don't realize that log falsification is not a driving offense. Log falsification is a criminal offense. It is a Class 1 felony. Okay? You get caught falsifying your logs at a scale house, maybe they don't throw the book at you because you haven't hurt anybody. You just falsified your logs. They're going to shut you down for a 10. Maybe if they can't find your or verify your 70-hour issue, they'll shut you down for a 34. But they could hit you with a felony. They don't because you haven't hurt anybody. But if there's a lawyer involved and a lawsuit or a DA, district attorney, they're going to. And you're going to get hit with manslaughter, voluntary manslaughter. Okay? And you got no way out of it because your phone record is proven that you falsified your logs. There's no defense for that. You can't claim some logical defense. Okay? So, at that point in time, guess what? Prison. That's all it is. In 2019, with the cameras on the highway, let's take the whole accident scenario out of the equation, okay? Because that's a rarity. There are a lot of accidents that happen every day, but a lot of people go their entire career and never have one. So we'll take that part out of the equation. Let's just talk about going down the highway. Now, if you do any kind of amount of driving, drive down the interstate, and you're going to come across cameras in random spots. You're also going to come across all kinds of cameras at every single way station just about nowadays. What are they there for? Are they there just to monitor traffic flow? Some of them, the ones out in random spots. But guess what? They're taking pictures. When you go by a group of cameras, and it's 4, 5, 6, 8 cameras, and they're aimed in all kind of little different variations of angles, what are they doing? They're taking pictures of tag numbers. They're taking pictures of DOT numbers. They're even getting a picture of you through the windshield. What's that for? That's so when the DOT pulls you into the back of the scale house and wants to look at your logbook, and you got a paper logbook, well, he can't subpoena your phone records just at that point right there. So, back in the day, he'd look at your logbook. If it all looks, pretty straight, got no way to prove it. Not today. Because he can go in there in his computer and he can put in your truck number and your license plate number, DOT number, and he can pull up every one of those pictures from those cameras you went by. Now, he can take that information with a timestamp on those photos and compare that to your paper logbook. Doesn't match? Done. It's not worth it today. The days of being able to get away with cheating up a paper logbook because there was no way to get caught, those days are long gone. Those days are long gone. NextGen did a video and it referenced, it was about a totally different subject, but he made a comment that stuck with me, and at least. And it said that, truck drivers are notorious for saying that the sacrifices that we make out here, being on the road, being gone away from our families, is for our families. We do all of this for the betterment of our families. How are you doing anything for the betterment of your family if you're going to be behind bars? You're setting yourself up for that. There's absolutely zero chance that I would run a paper logbook this day and time. Zero. And I don't want to see anybody else get hung up, pinned down into a bad situation because of that. Now, you want to run a paper logbook? Suit yourself. Have fun. Do whatever you want to do. I'm just saying, think about the alternatives. Think about the bad consequences that could come with that. The day that we live in now says that the likelihood of you getting caught, let's just say on a basic level of the DOT catching you at the scale house, is super high. Okay? It's super high. But that's not going to be career ending. It might make your insurance go up a little bit. Depending on the carrier you're at, you might have an issue staying with your carrier. I don't know. That's all small, minor things. Those are all things that can be worked out. But you have a crash. Those ambulance chasers are like bloodhounds on a trail. They're going to find it. They're going to find it. And you carry things around with you like your cell phone, the black box in your truck. When you have a crash, those lawyers are going to subpoena those photos that the DOT can pull up from the traffic cameras. Guess what? The lawyers can subpoena those too from the state. There's going to be video, camera, photo footage, evidence that you falsified your logs. There's no way of getting out of it. And so mainly the reason I wanted to do this video was to point out those things. You still want to be for running a paper logbook? That's fine. I'm not even going to call you stupid. I wouldn't dare do it. Okay? But the main reason I wanted to do this video was for people that might think they want to run a paper logbook. You got to think about these things too. Not just the benefit that you're going to get from it. You got to counteract and think out the positives and negatives, okay? Yeah, you might be able to run a couple of more loads, Let's just be honest. How much extra are you really going to be able to do? You might be able to go, run a few more loads in a year's time, make a little bit more money. It's not going to be a huge amount of money. But what are the risks you're taking? What could you lose if it goes bad? In my opinion, it far outweighs it. It far outweighs it. It just doesn't make any sense. So that's all I really wanted to say as far as I'm not trying to tell anybody they shouldn't run a paper logbook. I don't feel that people should, mainly because I won't. If you feel like that's what you need to do, then that's fine. There's a lot of discussion in this country on many different subjects on people, you should do this, you should do that. And listen, at the end of the day, it's all about your personal preference. The benefit of this country is that we can have discourse and a sharing of ideas. This is why I think that this is the way I think. Not because I feel like you should do it like me, but at least I'm telling you why I think this, and you can make your own decision. There's absolutely, like I said, there's absolutely zero chance that I would run a paper logbook today. I would prefer, and I do not support, the 10 truck exemption becoming law. And I'll tell you why on that. Because if that law passes, if that exemption gets granted to where fleets of 10 trucks or less don't have to run an ELD, there are going to be a lot of people who do not think about the consequences I have just laid out. They're only going to see the freedom, the flexibility, i.e. cheating, that comes with a paper logbook, and they're going to jump all over it. There's going to be a lot of fleets of small size that are going to run the paper logbook because of flexibility. And that is going to lead to many, many, many possibilities of drivers getting hemmed up in legal trouble. If this was 1990, I'd be ready to run a paper logbook myself. It's a lot less hassle, right? You do what you want to do. But this isn't 1990 anymore. You know? It just doesn't make sense. The amount of ways that you can be caught and busted and either possibly imprisoned, depending on the circumstance, are so exponentially higher today than they were 15, 20 years ago. It's not worth it. So that's all I wanted to say. I hope that anybody that sees this, if you are thinking about going on a paper logbook, if you are thinking about supporting the 10 truck exemption, and you think you might want to run a paper logbook, you got to think about these parts of that equation too. It's ultimately, you have to look at it from a standpoint of what's more important. A few extra loads, drive an extra hour today because you want to get to that favorite truck stop. Maybe you need to make that shipper because the receiver you were at held you up. You got to fudge your logbook a little bit to get to that next load. Or the shipper held you up a little bit and you got to fudge that logbook to get to the delivery. Is it worth it? Is it worth the risk that you're taking? The possibility of what could happen by running that paper logbook so that you can have flexibility? I say no. I guess it's all a personal decision. But I wanted to put this information out there because there's a lot of people that maybe haven't thought about it from this standpoint. And before you make that decision to go run a paper logbook or make that decision to support the 10 truck exemption on whatever reason, you got to think about this side of it too. You got to think about what could come from it. Not only the benefits that you're going to gain from running a paper logbook, but what could be the negatives. The negatives, in my mind, they outweigh the positives so much that the positives aren't even worth anything. It's not even a comparison. So, that's just my personal opinion. But mainly I want people to think about it from the other side of the coin. And as long as you think about it, you weigh out the risks versus the rewards, feel like you want to go for it, go for it. Not hurting me any. But I wish you the best of luck. The deck is stacked against you nowadays. The deck is stacked against you. The technology is, it is what it is. So I appreciate everybody stopping by. If you made it this far to the end of the video, thank you very much. Hit the like, hit the dislike. I understand that this is not an easy subject to discuss, and there is not going to be consensus agreement on one side or the other. I understand that totally. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. I'm trying to make sure everybody thinks about all the repercussions that come with a paper logbook. If you still want to run a paper logbook, that's fine. I just hope that people think about it on all aspects, not just what they claim to be the benefits. So, other than that, be safe, be careful. Remember, keep the shiny side up, rubber side down. We'll see you again.